Holbrook New Media.
This is Jeffrey K. Holbrook. Welcome to the Holbrook New Media audio feed. We do audio, video, content creation, and that other stuff. HolbrookNewMedia.com. Since there was no Geoff and Jeffrey weekly catch-up show this week, I thought I would take this opportunity to play an audio recording I did 6 weeks before my father, Floyde Holbrook, passed away. My wife Dee and I had breakfast with him, and I placed a digital audio recorder in the middle of the table. We had a conversation with him about how things used to be compared to the way they are now. This is the worldview and perspective of an 82-year-old man. He was raised poor in the coal camps of West Virginia, and with a high school education, married, provided for, and raised 5 boys in a Christian home. He and my mother, June Gibson Holbrook, were married for 58 years. People are shocked when they hear this, but following their example, all 5 boys are married to their original wives, and all have been married on one side or the other of the 30-year mark. My father walked a gentle path and made his mark on this world not just with his family, but with everyone he met. Some of his opinions will doubtless be considered outdated today, but ask yourself, should they be?
Oh, I was going to get you to tell me some of those poems that you like.
Oh, okay. What, you want to hear them?
Yeah, well, I wanted to hear them because I remember the Village Smithy thing. I remember
He
that.
was talking yesterday about he's going to do the Village Smithy. And I went so far with it. And I said, under the spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stands. Smith, a mighty man as he was, large and sinewy hands, muscles of his brawny arms as strong as iron bands. He goes to church on Sunday and sits among his boys. He hears the parson pray and preach, and hears his daughter's voice singing in the village choir. And it makes his heart rejoice. Now, that's as far as I got on that one.
Oh, okay.
Then I learned one named Abu Ben Adam.
That's the first time I'd ever heard that one. I'd never heard you say that one before.
No. Abu Ben Adam, may his tribe increase, awoke one night from a deep dream of peace, saw within the moonlight in his room, making it rich like a lily in bloom, an angel writing a book of gold. Exceeding peace made Ben Adam bold, and to the presence he said, "What writest thou?" The vision raised its head, and with a look made of all sweet accord, answered, "The names of those who love the Lord." Said, "And is mine one?" said Boo. Said, "Nay, not so," replied the angel. He said, "I pray thee, then write me as one who loves his fellow man." But the angel wrote and vanished. The next night it came again in the great wakening light, and showed the names of those whom the love of God had blessed. And lo, Ben Adam's name led all the rest.
Oh.
He memorized a bunch
That was
of
one I
poems.
learned in high school, but poetry came easy for me to learn, you know. And of course, it's been quite a few years.
Yeah, but you've
Class of
you've
52.
52.
Yeah.
But you remember them. You
Yeah.
remember them well.
Did you?
That's awesome.
Did you ever hear? I think one of my favorite poems is I think it's Robert Frost. I think "Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening." Did you ever hear that one? It's talking about how a guy's on with his horse, and he just stops while it's snowing in the woods, and he's talking about that this woods belong to somebody in town or whatever, but he won't know that we're just stopping and enjoying the the woods filling up with snow. And the horse thinks it's kind of odd because there's no house near or anything. They're just stopping in the middle of the woods. And then the says ends up, "The woods are lovely, soft and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." And so he has to he enjoyed it for a minute, but now it's time to go. He has work to do, so he has to go. But one of my favorite poems.
I can't remember any more except those two. Though I know I learned more when I was in there.
Yeah, but it's only been what, kind of 60 years,
65.
70, almost 70 years. Yeah. 65 years.
You know, two words that gave the high school students a real problem, and one of them was Europe, and the other one was banana.
Europe.
They didn't know when to stop.
Oh,
Banana,
the A and A.
Yeah, and they went on for a week. Teacher kept giving them these words, and they still couldn't seem to get it straight for some
Well, they were
reason.
trying to spell them, you mean?
But see, Europe, if you break it down in syllables, you rope.
Yeah. But then the
then
E.
you can smell it. But Europe, they wanted to put
Wow.
EUORPE.
Instead of ROPE.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Europe. Now I see.
We had a teacher, Miss Maddox, the one that did. And if you missed a spelling word on Monday, you got one lick with a paddle.
Oh.
If you missed one on Tuesday, you got two licks, right on up for 5 to Friday.
Oh.
Well, that's some
I
negative
missed one
reinforcement.
spelling word
Oh.
all year.
I bet.
And she said, well, rule's a rule. And old Frank Estep, real good friend of mine, he got paddled every day. Every day. I mean, he just, for some reason, couldn't take up spelling. He just couldn't grab it.
Oh.
I never did have any problem with it.
So, do you think anything's changed in the world since they don't paddle kids at school anymore?
Everything's changed.
Yeah.
I was going delivering mail in Stonewall Jackson High School, and as I was walking in to get to the office, this guy grabbed the fire extinguisher, that big, slammed it down a flight of stairs. One of the instructors saw him, one of the teachers. Didn't say a word to him. Just walked down, got the fire extinguisher, hung it back on the wall, walked off. Didn't say one word to that guy. And I thought, well, what kind of school is this? That they can't even do it. But when I went to high school, that guy's feet would have left the floor. That guy would have jerked him off the floor, took him in his office, and you would have heard the paddle bouncing on him. But, we, in the 7th grade, I had hernia surgery. So I wanted to get to school. I didn't want to miss enough school so that I didn't want to miss a year,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to stay like I was supposed to. So I went back a little early, I guess you'd call it. And Mr. Thomas, who was the principal, he took me up in front of the assembly, and he said, now, I want to tell you people something right now. He said, this boy just had surgery. He said, now, treat him good, nice. I don't want anybody doing anything that would hurt him. He says he come back to school a little early because he wants to get his year in, So I was walking up the hall, and Don Hunley, who was ordinarily a mean guy anyway, he was walking down the hall meeting me. And he passed real close to me. When he got to me, he raised his knee up and hit me right in the stomach. Bam, I hit the floor. I mean, it just completely knocked me out,
That's actually quite cruel.
Yeah. So Thomas knew about it, and he called the school assembly, took Don Hunley up in front
of everybody.
Every one of them. And he used that paddle. He said, I warned you about this, boy. And I said, now you're using this. Okay, you're going to be punished for it. Man, he lifted Don off the floor with that paddle.
Yeah, that's-
I mean, he hit him hard enough. Yeah. And Don turned around crying and said, I will tell my dad. He said, that's exactly what your dad told me to do to you. Yeah. And he smacked him a few more times.
Good.
Yeah. But lucky he did. Because Lige was going to the same school with me. I was in the seventh,
That's
and
dangerous.
Lige was in the ninth. And
Lige
Lige
would have
tore
taken him out.
apart.
Now, when he was 15, he was beating up 20-year-olds.
Oh, yeah.
But he was punished enough, I guess, like it was. But Elijah got him for sure about it.
Probably,
Yes, sir.
even Lige probably felt sorry for him by the time they got to all that.
Well,
Yeah, there's no consequences for anything these days, and the parents are suing them if they try to correct them, if they just, not even corporal punishment anymore. If they put them in detention, then the parents want to sue them and stop their kids from being punished because
truth is the teachers are in danger.
the
that's true.
kids think they can get away with anything now. And they usually do.
They do.
Well,
they can.
The
They
parents
usually do get away with it.
facilitate it. Then they get out into the world and they find out that the world's not like that. And, like right now, everybody gets a trophy,
Right.
no matter how well you did.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get in trouble for things. Then they go out in the world and they find out nobody really cares about how they feel. And then they lose their job. And this happens and everybody's like, what? Why did the rules suddenly change? No, that's the way the world's been all along. They just put you in an artificial thing when you were in school.
Always been there.
Yeah, the world is very cruel. And they don't know it. They don't expect it when they get there and they're blindsided by it. Then they wonder why the world doesn't owe them a living like they thought it would.
Oh, yes, definitely. There's so many of them out there think the world owes them a living. And they find out the hard way. It doesn't. You got to earn your own way.
Yeah.
So they go home and play video games and get somebody else to pay their way.
The world don't owe you a thing.
No.
You got to make your own world.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we were glad for Michaela, that she definitely doesn't expect anything unusual. She goes out there and she makes it work the way she wants it to. We told her she could be anything she wanted to be, but she had to be it.
Yeah.
It isn't something that was going to drop on her, And so she's not afraid to get out there and work hard. We're very, very proud of that.
Yeah. And she does work hard. It scares me that she works too hard because, when she's in the middle of it, she gives her all. But I'm proud of that.
She reminds me of you.
Yeah. I'm proud of that. She wants to go after her master's and then her doctorate. And I told her, I said, don't expect to be able to do that like you did with your associate and your bachelor's and pay for it cash and not have any loans. But you know what? She is just liable to do that, though. Knowing her, she's just liable to accomplish that. Not many kids earn their first degree, let alone their second, 2 degrees at one time, and have paid cash for it and not owe a penny the day they walk down the aisle to the grade to get their diploma. But she did. She doesn't owe a penny, and she worked full time.
And then it was an honor society.
Honor society.
So many of them come out of college with over $100,000 in debt.
Right. And then, if you were to take that same money and invest it, whenever you first got ready to go to college, and invest it and then maybe learn a trade at a local trade school, but then invest the money you would have spent for big college. There's so many people with degrees now, I think you'd probably come out ahead with your investments if you just invested the money instead of, and then just got a conventional job rather than, getting a college degree. It's just so many people around with degrees now, and they can't get jobs.
Yeah. Ducky, June's brother, he knew, and just come natural to him, electronics, different building radios and stuff like that, The school where he went to wouldn't let him pursue that. Yeah, so all he had to do was do it at home, you know, and they wouldn't let him pursue electronics, and I think that's where the American school system is wrong, because over in Japan, over in Far East,
They play up the.
that's right. If a kid shows something toward, say, electronics, that's what they teach him.
They emphasize it, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they teach him. And it's no wonder that foreign students excel over the Americans,
Mm-hmm.
because they were taught from the time they were little kids, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that this is what I like and this is what I like to do. And so put his education in that form, you know, and
Yeah.
so that he learns.
And they get to do what they enjoy, and they excel at it. I know we as Americans try to put, square pegs in round holes. We don't want to change the shape of that hole,
Right.
and it's not. We take away advantages that people would otherwise have.
Right.
And it works on the assumption that everybody should be exactly alike.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be educated exactly the same.
Yeah.
They all are the same, have the same attitude and everything. And that's kind of a fallacy, because nobody's like anybody else.
Well,
There's just different things.
then they treat them as if they're inept if
Right.
they don't fall into that.
Yeah.
What works for you won't maybe work for me,
No.
but you would excel in your thing, and I would excel in my thing, and then throwing them together, we would accomplish something.
Yeah.
They missed the mark.
But it was kind of funny that Ducky, as far as regular schoolwork, he didn't do any good at all.
Oh.
But he didn't want to. That wasn't his interest.
Mm-hmm.
But he built several things, electronic things, there in his daddy's shop, in Louisiana. And they didn't give him good grades in school because he had no fun, there was no
Interest.
no drawing power, you might say.
Yeah.
But I was trying to think what it was that he made up there. And I can't remember. It's been a long time. But anyway, he made something that was really amazing. Just took pieces, and put it together.
Just started from scratch, huh?
No. Ducky built a radio that worked. Yeah, it worked. And he built it from scratch.
Well, what did he do in his work? I mean, what was his profession?
For your dad, for his dad.
He just worked. That's what he did for a living.
Well,
Okay.
he was a fireman way back in the day, I think.
He helped him build screen rooms and stuff like that.
Okay.
And like I say, he was good with his hands.
I was going to say, yeah.
Do just a little bit of everything with his hands. And he died of cirrhosis of the liver. Drinking. Becoming an alcoholic. When he died, they said they wanted me to preach his funeral. Oh, I said, I've never preached a funeral before. Well, that's what he wanted. So I said, okay, I'll do the best thing I can do. And so they had the funeral, and I preached his funeral.
Oh.
And before I did anything, the funeral director said, have you done this before? I said, no, I haven't. But that's what the boy wants.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do my best. After it was over, he said, you did a wonderful job. He said, yeah. He said, sound like it's somebody who had been doing it for years. I said, no, that's the way it was. But
well, that doesn't surprise me. You did a lot of teaching.
See, he got saved before he died.
Oh.
And you talk about a witness.
Oh, wow.
I mean, buddy, he witnessed to everybody he saw.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, that makes it a lot easier to
Yes, it
does.
Yeah. And made my thing, as far as the funeral was concerned, on quality, not quantity.
There you go. Because he gave quality in
Right,
that short
he gave quality,
period
right.
of time.
And then that was what I based his funeral service on.
Oh, bless his heart.
I surprised myself. And he was a real good friend of his. And Danny, he was real close to the Lord, but he expected the Lord to take care of him and his family. He had a few kids, I'm 2 or 3, and they were married, and I told him, I said, look, you are going to have to go out, and you're going to have to get yourself a job to take care of your family.
Mm-hmm.
I said, if you expect the Lord to pour it on you without any effort, he's not going to do it.
No.
No, I said, he's not going to do it. I said, you're going to have to get out there and earn a living for your family. And he was living up there with his family, and he was working with John a little bit, not a whole lot, because he didn't really want to work very much. So he went out of state somewhere and called me one day, said, you were right. Yeah. He said, I gotta take care of my family. Yeah. And I said, yeah, you've got a wife and you've got kids and you've got to make a living for them.
Mm-hmm.
I says, a man who don't do this, according to the scripture, is worse than an infidel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He looked at me, he looked it up in the scripture and found it.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
That's
I said, a man who doesn't provide for his family is worse than an infidel.
Yeah.
It
It makes a little bit of a difference, doesn't it? Oh, bless his heart.
A lot of people don't even know that's in the Bible.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But it is.
And then there's another scripture in there that says, go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one in there.
Yeah.
That works. I mean,
The
that's
ant
for a
is a
lazy
worker
man.
and the
Exactly.
sluggard is not.
Yeah.
Well, the Bible speaks truth, and
Yeah.
for the most part, people don't want to hear the truth because it
Exactly.
puts a mirror up in front of them they don't want to look into.
No. They don't want to look at themselves as being that way.
Thanks for listening. You can find everything we do at holbrooknewmedia.com. Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/theweeklycatchup.